Joining me now is Wisconsin Democratic Senator Tammy Baldwin, who's a member of the Health, Education, Labor, and Pensions Committee. Senator, we don't normally talk about this, but this is indicative of a system that allows this sort of thing to happen. In other words, not everybody, I mean, there are lots of problems with how people get admitted to universities, but the fact that this can happen, that they can doctor photos, that coaches have free tickets to get people into university who otherwise aren't qualified to do so, and that people can pay for their way into it, this does need to be addressed.
It certainly does, and the story actually broke when I was in a hearing in the Education Committee on especially focused on student financial aid and the affordability of college, and how often the most low-income students have the greatest difficulty going through the application for financial aid. And then this story breaks, all as we're in the middle of trying to reauthorize the Higher Education Act. We absolutely have to focus on this. You know, I remember in the past hearing stories about the favor parents can buy if they give just a huge donation to the school. This obviously is cheating, and as your story indicated, the biggest victims are those who don't get a place in those schools because somebody else has cheated to get in.
But it's really hard for those victims to sue, right? Because you never know you were the next person on the list who didn't get in because somebody paid somebody off. So we almost have to eliminate the perverse incentives that allow this to happen.
Yes, and I have to give, my hats off to the FBI in this particular case. I can't imagine that it was easy to, unravel all the details as they have, and it's going to be important for us to learn from what they've learned in order to put forward appropriate policies.
Senator, you were talking about work that you otherwise think has to be done to make college more accessible. I mean, the problem here is that all of these things have the same smell to them, and that is that it is hard to get into college on your own steam if you're up against people who have other angles.
Well, that, and as well as the fact that if you're the first in your family to have the opportunity to go to college, you don't necessarily have the backing or the information you need to understand that it's not just as simple and straightforward as studying hard throughout high school and working your hardest. It also is about figuring out how to pay for it. And for lower income and lower middle income families, it is not only sometimes a challenge to get into school, but it's a challenge to figure out the financial aid system. And we have currently a system that our hearing really brought this out today, that further disadvantages low-income students in their sort of verification of income processes. So we're spending all this time burdening very low-income families with, well, show us proof of this and show us proof of and not obviously looking closely enough at those who are gaming the system at the upper income levels, and that is wrong. And we need to, education and a higher education is about opportunity to succeed and reach your goals and flourish, and that cannot be reserved for only the wealthy in our society.
Senator, before you go, I want to ask you about another push you're making for the Equality Act. The goal of the bill is to advance the Civil Rights Act of 1964 to ban discrimination in employment, housing, public accommodations, education, federal programs, and credit on the basis of sex, sexual orientation, and gender identity. Where are you with this?
Well, we're introducing the measure tomorrow. We're doing a joint introduction with members of the House. But the bottom line today is that 29 states in America do not have full and comprehensive protections against discrimination on the basis of sexual orientation, gender identity, gender expression, or sex. And we need to address that, because while many have celebrated the advancements that we've seen, especially with marriage equality, the job is not done, and we have a long way to go to ensure that individuals won't be fired from a job, for example, or lose their housing on the basis of who they are or who they love, rather than focusing on their ability to perform the job. And it happens too often in America, and we want to see progress moving forward, not, as we've seen recently in this administration, things being rolled back.